Welcome to PMP Rapid Fire Questions. Question 1. During project execution, a key deliverable is nearing completion, but a critical regulatory change has just been announced, impacting the project's compliance requirements. The change was not foreseen. What should the project manager do first? A. Implement the change immediately to ensure compliance. B. Reevaluate the project management plan to assess the impact of the change. C. Notify stakeholders about the regulatory change and its potential impact. Hit the pause button if you need more time. So, as a good project manager, as opposed to a mother may I approach, you want option B. And this is because before notifying stakeholders or implementing changes, you as a project management professional should first understand the full impact of the change on the project. This involves reevaluating the project management plan, including scope, schedule, cost, and quality baselines to determine the necessary adjustments. Only after this assessment can informed decisions be made about how to proceed and what to communicate. Question 2. A complex project has just been initiated and the project charter has been signed. However, key stakeholders from different departments have conflicting priorities regarding the project's primary objective. What is the best immediate action for the project manager? A. Proceed with identifying detailed requirements from each department. B. Facilitate a meeting with the conflicting stakeholders to achieve consensus on the project's objectives. C. Escalate the issue to the project sponsor for resolution. As a good project manager, your approach should always be one where you attempt to understand and resolve the issues before crying to someone else. In fact, crying to someone else is the worst thing to do as a PMP. So the answer to this is facilitate a meeting with the conflicting stakeholders. Achieving stakeholder consensus on project objectives is critical immediately after charter signing, especially when conflict exists. In fact, if you read the PMBOK Guide 6th edition, it suggests meetings, and in the meetings, there is a tool and technique known as conflict resolution. And that is the PM's role to facilitate all alignment before proceeding with detailed planning. Escalation is a last resort, and detailed requirements without objective alignment will lead to rework. Question 3. The project is underway and a new technology becomes available that could significantly enhance a key project deliverable, but it was not part of the initial scope. Implementing it would require additional budget and time. What should the project manager do next? A. Incorporate the new technology into the project management plan to improve deliverable quality. B. Submit a change request for formal evaluation and approval. C. Discuss the opportunity with the development team for feasibility assessment. Now, again, when you take a look at these, you need to understand from the scope of the PMI that you don't start working on proposed changes without them being properly documented. So, any change that affects the project's baselines, scope, schedule, and cost has to go through formal integrated change control. Submitting a change request ensures proper evaluation, approval, and communication, maintaining project control, because you will invest time and resources into this endeavor. I call these set of quizzes the power of three because I only present three options so that you could very rapidly cover the scope of the question and train your mental muscles. Other questions I have on this channel are four options, and we have up to 500 questions in the other banks. So we call this the power of three, so that very quickly you can get into the groove of the question and train your brain to answer quick. Question 4. During project closing, the final product has been delivered and accepted by the client. However, the project team identifies several lessons learned that could benefit future projects, but they are not formally documented. What should the project manager ensure is done next? A. Archive all project documents as the project is complete. B. Conduct a lessons learned session and update the organizational process assets. C. Release the project team to their next assignments. The best answer here, my friends, is to take action and do the needful. This is where you do want to conduct your lessons learned. These are a critical output of closing. Even if the product is accepted, the project is not truly closed until lessons learned are formally documented and stored in the organizational process assets for future use. Well, my friends, I hope you enjoyed it. Question 5. A critical project has experienced a significant delay due to unforeseen technical issues, putting the project's strategic objectives at risk. The sponsor is concerned. What is the project manager's primary responsibility at this point? A. Update the project schedule and communicate the new estimated completion date to the sponsor. B. Analyze the root cause of the technical issue and develop corrective actions. C. Reevaluate the business case and project benefits management plan with key stakeholders. All right, my friends, you can notice what the problem is here. The main problem is that the project's strategic objectives are at risk. When you have a strategic objective at risk, it means you have a grassroots issue. You have an issue with the goals, the benefits, the expected value. And that means you need to go back to ground zero, way beyond the project management plan, way beyond the schedule. You need to get into the business case. So the best answer here is C. When a project's strategic objectives are at risk, the project manager must elevate the focus beyond just schedule updates or technical fixes. The primary responsibility is to reevaluate the project's viability and alignment with project objectives, business objectives, and key stakeholders, including the sponsor, through a review of the business case and the benefits management plan that were created in the very beginning. This ensures the project remains aligned with organizational goals or is formally redirected or terminated. Let's move on to question 6. The project team has collected extensive requirements from various stakeholders, resulting in a long list of desired features. The project budget and timeline are fixed and constrained. What should the project manager do first to manage this situation effectively? A. Prioritize requirements with stakeholders based on business value and project constraints. B. Document all collected requirements in the requirements documentation and traceability matrix. C. Inform stakeholders that not all requirements can be accommodated due to constraints. All right. First of all, when you get a question like this, you need to see through the smoke and mirrors to identify which world could this be. Could this be an agile world or is this a predictive world? And when you understand the world you're in, you choose the most sensible solution based on that world. And for that reason, my friends, the answer is A, because we're talking about a rather agile environment where we have a fixed time box. We likely have a stable team. And the best thing for you to do is to, as a product owner, even if that's not your role, to prioritize requirements based on value and based on project constraints. In this case, you have a fixed time box, which is very similar to the world of Agile. So before documenting everything or stating limitations, the PM must facilitate prioritization with fixed constraints, focusing on the highest business value requirements. This is crucial to define a realistic scope. Number 7. During project execution, a stakeholder requests a new feature that was not part of the approved scope. Let's start that again. During project execution, excuse me, during project execution, okay, let's start again here. During project execution, a stakeholder requests a new feature that was not part of the approved scope baseline. The feature seems minor but could significantly improve user experience. What should the project manager do next? A. Add the feature to the backlog and include it in the next iteration. B. Advise the stakeholder that this is a change request and initiate the change control process. C. Discuss the new feature with the team to understand its feasibility and effort. All right. Now, this obviously alludes to a scope baseline, which is more from the world of predictive, right? So, in this instance, you need to address it from a more predictive standpoint. And adding it to the backlog would sound nice, but you can kind of deduce this isn't one of those situations. So the best answer is advising the stakeholder that a change request is going to be needed, initiate change control, and review the change request. But it has to be documented, right? So any new feature, no matter how minor it seems, that was not part of the approved scope baseline constitutes a change. It must go through the formal integrated change control process to be evaluated, approved, or rejected. Moving on to question 8. The work breakdown structure WBS has been completed and validated. The project team is now starting to define activities. A team member is unsure how detailed to make the activity list. What document should the project manager direct them to consult? A. Project scope statement. B. WBS dictionary. C. Scope management plan. Hit the pause button if you need more time. Now, ask yourself this question. What is in the project scope statement? Inclusions, exclusions, and detailed deliverable description. What is in the WBS dictionary? A breakdown of the components in the WBS. Those two documents right off the bat would not contain instructions about how detailed to be in any decomposition activity. On the flip side, it is most likely to be in a schedule management plan, but since that is not one of the options, as happens on a lot of PMP questions, you got to go with what makes logical sense. So the best answer here, my friends, is the scope management plan. Remember, the scope management plan is part of the project management plan. Will contain details on how to decompose, definitely down to the work package level, and possibly even beyond. So, the best answer here would have been the scope management plan. It provides guidelines on the level of detail for planning components. That's key. While the WBS dictionary provides details for WBS elements, the scope management plan sets the overall approach. Let's go to question 9. The project has delivered the major component and the client is reviewing it. They identify several discrepancies between the delivered component and the original requirements, which they claim were clearly communicated. What process should the project manager ensure is performed next? Is it A, control quality? Is it B, validate scope? Is it C, perform integrate change control? All right, my friend. So taking a look at this, ask yourself the question, in which process is the client currently? Currently in a review process. That in and of itself is validate scope. So what you need to do next could not again be validate scope. It wouldn't be that. Okay. And it wouldn't be control quality because that precedes validate scope. So we're left with option C, perform integrated change control. And this makes sense. Why? Because if the client reviews this deliverable and finds something that needs to be different, that amounts to having some sort of change control activities. So the best answer is C, perform integrate change control. While discrepancies are identified during the validate scope process, the next step is to address these issues formally. This involves determining the root cause of the mismatch and deciding how to resolve it. And that falls under perform integrated change control. Here, change requests will be analyzed, the impact assessed, whether it's scope, cost, or schedule, and approval is obtained before any changes are made to the deliverable or baseline. All right, let's move on to question 10. This is the final one for today. A project manager is defining the scope of a new software development project. They are struggling to get clear, consistent requirements from a diverse group of stakeholders, leading to ambiguity. What technique should the project manager employ to best address this challenge? A. Conduct one-on-one interviews with the stakeholder to capture individual needs. B. Facilitate workshops and group creativity techniques like brainstorming or nominal group technique. C. Develop a prototype for stakeholders to review and provide feedback. So when you really think about it, you got a lot of people, right? This is where your facilitation skills need to kick in. When dealing with diverse stakeholders and ambiguous requirements, facilitating workshops and using group creativity techniques are highly effective. These methods encourage collaboration, consensus building, and can uncover hidden requirements or resolve conflicts more efficiently than individual interviews or prototyping at an early stage. There you have it, my friends. The first 10 questions in this bank. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, smash the like button, and I'll see you next time. All the best on your PMP journey, and bye for now.